Welcome back to Market Today, and with immediate effect, we'll join Mr. Keshav Bhajanka. He's the Executive Director at CenturyPly Boards. A lot of numbers would be running in front of you in form of graphics. Just let me highlight two. As far as the profit is concerned, for the second quarter that's gone by, 97 crores versus 87 crores in the first quarter, and in the same quarter last year it was 95 crores. Revenue at 966 crores is higher by about 70 crore rupees as far as the first quarter is concerned, and in the same quarter last year it was at about 908 crores. Welcome, Mr. Bhajanka. How do the next one or two quarters look to you when it comes to demand for plywood? Yesterday we had a very fine gentleman from the real estate space, and they said that there is no let up in demand. So if flats and residences are being constructed at a very brisk pace, the future looks brighter for Century Plyboards. What's your view?
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I think you're absolutely correct. If we look at the medium and the long term, the future looks very bright. And if you look at the current scenario, today there is some pressure on demand. The reason there's pressure is because most of the inventory that was there in the system in the form of residential flats has been consumed. Today, I think we are at a 6 year low with regards to the unsold inventory, so to speak. And the new launches do take some time to catch up. So our journey starts when you go to the process of making it from a house to a home. It is not during the early stages of construction when the building is being made. It is when you are actually furnishing it and turning it into your own home. So I think that lag does come into play. But despite that, we have had a very strong quarter. I think in the plywood and the MDF segments, we have been able to work as per our guidance. Laminates, yes, there has been a slight miss, but we are working towards correcting that in H2 as well.
Okay. Keshavji, when you look at the broader market, especially the real estate space, we've seen a very, very high demand coming in from the luxury segment. Your buyers, which are in the OEM space for retailers, as also retailers like us, are facing this challenge of trying to sort of arrange for funds to buy larger and more luxury homes. What has been your interaction with the retailers? When you look at newer products to be launched, what are the kind of margins that you're looking at? At the moment, 9.6 is what you make.
So, on margin levels, we always speak on a beta basis. And our objective has been clear. In plywood, we are looking at 13 to 15% long term, laminate 14 to 16%, and MDF and particle board 25% long term margins. Having said that, today, if you look at the scenario, everyone who can afford a larger home is trying to purchase one post COVID. But I think this trend will take some time because it is not necessary that everyone has the necessary liquidity. This, coupled with the fact that interest rates have jumped, make the current scenario slightly tricky. But I think that going forward, once interest rates start to cool down, which hopefully they will within the next year or 2 years, and the additional liquidity that will be built into the system due to the same, you will see a far, far stronger demand for luxury segments. And that is where we come into play, as you had rightly pointed out.
Okay, absolutely got that, Mr. Bajanka. Very good morning. And, firstly, let's talk about laminate revenues. That declined 2.5% on a YY basis with margin contraction of 619 basis points on an yearly basis. So I want to understand from you that what's the outlook as far as revenue growth is concerned? I mean, what's your outlook for FY24? And if you could also share, some of the major growth drivers going forward.
So you see, during the last 2 quarters, we have brought about a number of changes. We have launched a new campaign where we have partnered
Mm.
together with the renowned designer, Mr. Manish Malhotra, and we come up with a range that is the first ever of its kind in the entire laminate industry, where Century Laminate by Manish Malhotra is the first branded designer laminate to ever have been created anywhere in the world. Now, these things do take some time, and the expense has obviously been booked within the first 2 quarters. Alongside that, we have launched scenic laminates. As you know, in plywood, we have been very successful with our scenic brand, and now we are trying to replicate that same success within laminates as well. So, in the second half of the year, I'm very confident that we will be looking at a double-digit growth, and we will be in line with our guidance of 13 to 15% EBITDA margin.
Okay, and also, Mr. Bhajanka, is laminate more expensive than the other brands such as like Manish Malhotra?
Um, Manish Malhotra is a category within our laminate range. So Manish Malhotra would be the higher end of our laminate range.
Okay.
Okay, absolutely.
Let's take this discussion forward, Mr. Bhajanka. It's I think the first instance in which the laminate is branded to a celebrity from Bollywood. What are typically the higher margins in terms of actual numbers that you charge on Manish Malhotra laminate versus the other brands that you offer?
So the pricing of the Manish Malhotra range would be double that of our standard range. And this is due to the aesthetic uh, changes that we have brought in, which requires a higher cost of production as well. And alongside that, that brand premium will of course come into play. So I think that you can look at it as a 2x of the existing range of laminates that we are offering prior to this introduction.
Okay, absolutely got that. And let's talk about timber prices as well, Mr. Bhajanka. What's the price trend there? Because we are seeing elevated timber prices. So, do you expect the prices to go up going forward as well?
I think timber prices have cooled off slightly over the course of the last 1 or 2 quarters. Last quarter, definitely, we have seen timber prices more or less plateau out, and this quarter, we are seeing that timber prices are slightly subdued as compared to last quarter. Having said that, I hope that timber prices do not cool off too much as well, because higher timber prices attract agroforestry. Today, a farmer who was earning a realization of 2,500 rupees per ton is earning a realization of 5,000 rupees plus. What that entails is more agroforestry, and it gives us long-term sustainable raw material security. So I'm hoping they do cool off slightly, but not much beyond.
Right. Mr. Bhajanka, let's look at the capacity expansion over the next 18 to 24 months, and let's look at what is coming on stream as quickly as possible. So, one, how much of fresh capacity you are adding, how are you adding it in terms of costs, in terms of financing, and what is coming on stream over the next 2 3 quarters?
So the new capacity in Andhra Pradesh for both laminates and MDF will come on stream by the next quarter itself. We are very, very confident that we will be unveiling our largest MDF capacity in Andhra Pradesh, and the first capacity in HPL in laminates that we have that is higher size within the next quarter. Alongside that, we are also looking at adding capacity in plywood within the next financial year and adding a large capacity in particle board in Chennai within the next financial year as well. In terms of the total cost, we would be looking at a 200 crore plus capex for laminate, 700 crore plus capex for MDF, 500 crore plus capex for particle board, and 100 crore plus capex for plywood.
Okay. Let's look at the financing costs that you are looking at. What is the average interest that you borrow on? And at the moment, I see that on the balance sheet you have somewhere like 315 crore rupees of debt versus cash of about 45 crores. Any chances you want to pay off this debt early, or this is good enough for the size of the balance sheet that you have?
I think we will have to take on some more debt over the course of the next year, year and a half, because of the quantum of expansion that we're doing. If you look at Century Plywood, if you look at it historically, within the first 35 years of existence, we did close to 1,000 crores of capex, whereas over the course of the last 2 years, or this year plus the next year, we will be doing close to 2,000 crores of capex. So it is a change of scale. However, we are very confident that we have very strong internal accruals. So the debt that we do take on board will be a short-term or a medium-term debt, maybe for a year or 6 quarters. And post that, due to the internal accruals and due to our strong cash flow generation, we'll be able to repay this debt. So it's not going to be long-term debt, as you correctly pointed out.
Okay, absolutely got that, Mr. Bhajanka. But talking about imports as well, imports have gone up. And experts are saying that the company will be affected by sluggish demand environment and higher imports in the near term. Would you like to elaborate on that?
I think imports, you're predominantly talking about the MDF and the particle board segments. In MDF, currently, we are a north-based company. Our production capacity is in the north, and the maximum quantum of sales is in the north. Now, the north is insulated from imports because MDF is not a very high realization per ton product. So, the transportation and freight cost from south to north can vary anywhere between 10 to 15%. So, it acts as a natural insulation. But I think going forward, once our south capacity comes in, imports will definitely affect us. However, having said that, if you look at the BIS standards that have been levied on MDF, which come on stream from February next year, imports will face a bit of a challenge. Growth of imports is unlikely to persist, and I am quite bullish that the quantum of imports is likely to reduce going forward.
Okay, and what about margins, Mr. Bhajanka? If you talk about plywood, laminate, and MDF, what is your outlook as far as margins are concerned? I mean, for FY24?
Our long-term guidance on margins has been that on plywood we'll do 13 to 15%, laminate 14 to 16%, and particle board and MDF 25%. I think that within the second half of the year, we'll be targeting the same margins for plywood. Perhaps laminates would be slightly lower at 13 to 15%. MDF, we'll be targeting at 25%, and particle board, because of the current demand environment, you'll be looking at 20%.
Okay. Mr. Bhajanka, when you look at how your capacity expansion is coming on stream, and as you mentioned, 2,000 crores in the pipeline, this of course has to be sold to reach retailers like Tanya and me. What is the geographical expansion that you're looking at, newer cities that you might want to add, newer dealerships that might want to host Century Plywood? What is that game plan towards the customer side?
I think, we have been the strongest brand in the industry for quite some time now. Being the market leader, when we do decide to expand footprint, it becomes somewhat easier than for the rest. If you look at MDF, if you look at the other capacities, plywood or laminate, it will be more or less consumed by the existing channel itself. It's about creating further demand levers, and I'm sure and confident that we are in line to do the same. For MDF, because it is a geographical location change and it is a change in focus from the north to the south, definitely we'll have to expand our retail channel, our distribution network in the south. But we are fairly confident and we've already started work on that. We're seeing good traction already.
Okay, and at least the final question from my side, sir. Of course, capacity expansion and geographical growth is a given as far as Century Plywood is concerned. Share with us and your investors the kind of hurdles that you are facing in expanding capacity and expanding geographical footprint. What are the pain points for the moment for Century Plywood as well as the industry?
I think the biggest pain point is that the cost of capex has gone up because of a sharp increase in raw material prices as compared to when we had planned it. But other than that, I don't see too much of a challenge in executing the current capex that we have. And going forward, in terms of distribution reach, I think we are very well placed. We are working on it already, and hopefully, we'll be able to give you and our investors substantial growth going forward.
Okay. With that, Mr. Bhajanka, you have our best wishes in terms of a better top line finer margins, and of course a fantastic bottom line. Just a point that I'd like to mention: over the last 10 years, the CAGR on the stock has been 37%. Each year, the counter has grown 37% in terms of price. And given the strength of the capex and the reach, we hope that wonderful rally continues. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, let's shift back to focus